Thank you, Barbara. That was a great presentation. I always learn a lot when I listen to you and think about how it relates to some other areas of my life in terms of small businesses. We do have a few questions, and so I'll just give them in order of the presentation. So the first one goes back to how you figure out your cost of goods sold and when setting a price for your product, and it's from Amanda, and she says, should you factor your time into the cost of goods sold when trying to figure out a price for product?
Very good question, and you can do it either way. I tend to think that our time as small producers is split between variable and fixed costs. So the part that is spent planting and weeding or feeding animals, cleaning up after them, that is a variable cost. The more you produce, the more time you're going to have to spend out there in the field or the barn, right? So that is a variable cost. The more you produce, the more of that kind of input you're going to need to have. On the other hand, part of your time is spent doing bookkeeping. Part of it is spent on buying supplies. Part of it is spent on planning, and those tend to be fixed costs. So our labor is going to be some of both. Some of it is going to be variable, and some of it's going to be fixed. Now, if you have a big operation and you're only doing the planning and the banking, and you have hired people out there cleaning out the barn, those hired people then are the variable expenses, and you're a fixed expense as an owner-manager. But for, yeah, if you're doing both, then you need to divide it up.
Okay, thank you. Janice asks, I get 2 products from my sheep flock, lamb and wool. My biggest cost is feed for them. How do I determine which of these are contributing to my break-even point, and how do I divvy these out?
Another very good question. So there are different ways to divvy up the fixed expenses. Now the feed is a variable expense, but in this case, you're going to have to divvy it up too. I would divvy it up based on the percentage of sales. So let's say for my flock of lambs, I sell $5,000 worth of wool, and I honestly don't have any idea what kind of breakdown this might turn out to be, but $10,000 worth of meat. And so in this case, the meat is producing twice as much revenue as the wool, so the meat would get 2/3 of the cost of the feed, and the wool would get 1/3. I hope that makes sense, because the bigger your flock is, of course, the more feed you're going to have, but you can kind of predict, you know, okay, I'm predicting I'm going to get this amount of revenue from the meat and this amount of revenue from the wool, or maybe it's not meat, maybe it's the selling the lambs for 4-H kids to raise them out. But however that breakdown is of revenue, that could be how you allocate those variable costs. And it's the same with the fixed costs then. You can allocate it based on the percentage of revenue that enterprise is going to bring in compared to all the enterprises together, or you could allocate it based on the amount of acreage it takes up, or maybe on some other factor, how much room it takes up in the barn or something. And we all face these kinds of allocations when we're looking at break-even analysis.
Thank you, Barbara. Janice says that the elephant example is awesome. We have one final question from Joe, and this is related to your conversation around yellow page listings and how to get listed in those by registering through your website. He's wondering if anyone has tried LinkedIn to register.
Okay, LinkedIn is I recommend that everybody put sort of a quick resume for themselves and then a business resume on LinkedIn. It is a free social media venue, another way to market your business and your expertise. And so LinkedIn is not a traditional registry. It is a little more in-depth. It's a little more social than a typical online telephone directory type of listing. But yeah, you have to sort of become a member. Again, it's free, but yeah, they get some of your information and well worthwhile. Yelp is another type, more of a directory type of listing. Foursquare used to be big, and they're just all over out there. But there are some of them that are specific to small businesses too.
Thank you. That was the last of our questions at this time. So thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Diane Green, and she's going to be giving examples from her farm with market assessment and expansion. Again, just so you know, the webinar slides, the handout is posted in the course website, so you do have all of this material that you can print off from the course website. Okay, Diane.
Good afternoon, everyone. Do I have control of the mouse? Maybe?
You do, yes.
Okay. So that was great. I got some good ideas out of what Barbara was saying as well. One of the things that before I get started, I didn't want to forget this. We were talking about different social media, and we used the Yellow Pages for a number of years, and what I learned from that was, one, that it cost me a considerable amount of money, and it was when we first started out. And over the course of time, we've done a lot of different things for our social media, and I'm going to talk about social media a little bit later, but one of the things that I found that was really helpful, and it kind of goes along with those consumer survey things, whenever anybody calls you, emails you, contacts you related to anything with your business, always ask them how they found out about you. How did they hear about you? And make note of that. So we did that for a while and discovered over the course of years we never had anybody find us in the Yellow Pages. Most of the people found us through other types of media. So just always ask, and that will give you a pretty good sounding board to find out how people are finding out. Okay, move forward. Not advancing. And it's we just got a foot of snow, and it's raining hard, so it's possible that I've got some kind of glitch going on here, but I'm not moving forward, so I'm not sure how you may end up having to forward my slides for me since it's not working.
Diane, I think if you
Okay,
try
now-
clicking again, somehow Cinda inadvertently took the mouse back.
Well, I just did now, yeah. Just a second. You should have it now.
Well, we couldn't go through this without some kind of glitch, and it usually happens on my watch.
So you should have it. Click on the slide
Okay.
before you try to move it forward.
I'm clicking. Nothing's happening.
Okay, try it again. Now click there. You should be able to get it now.
click.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so I told you about the social media, make note, and that kind of goes with a lot of other things. It's just I'm all for notes. If you ask Cinda and Colette for the years they've been working with me, if I would have invested in sticky notes a long time ago, I would have been a rich farmer who has sticky notes everywhere, and they just they saved my life. And as long as I find those sticky notes when I write them. So I'm going to kind of go over a lot of things that Barbara talked about and just offer a more personal perspective of things that we do at our farm. But this slide really sums it up as far as successful marketing requires knowing your product, identifying your customer, overcoming obstacles, delivering promised goods, and standing behind all that you say and do. And I don't usually read the slides, but I want to make that point because it's really crucial. And having a marketing plan, knowing where you're going, I consider that marketing plan a part of my roadmap. And right now we're doing our market review, and part of that is that's something that we do every winter because things change. It's really important that you remember just because you sold something last year doesn't mean it's going to sell well next year. I've certainly found with Murphy's Law, if I think something I mean, it's a gamble. You find something new and you try something new and it may or may not work. But what was trendy last year might not be this year. Truly, the only consistent thing in the universe is change. So that said, things that we had that no one else had last year will probably have competition this year. And we have to really look closely at that and try to pay attention, because if we don't, we're not going to change with the inevitable. So when we review our marketing plan, we're really looking at who are we selling to this year. That changes. What kinds of changes are we making? We're looking at new market opportunities. We're establishing different strategies, and we're always evaluating. We're always adapting and adjusting. And you've heard me talk a number of times mentioning flowers and pumpkins, and I'll be talking about those again some more because those are some of our big changes over the course of time. We sent out our CSA membership letters. We usually send them out the 1st of January. I think I sent them out a little bit later than that, but a part of the purpose of sending out our CSA surveys is it gives us the opportunity to have some of our folks will give full payment for, and several of the memberships have already paid in full for the season, which gives us seed money for our getting our season started, keeps us from having to go further in debt because we've spent a lot of money on seeds every year. We have a $35 membership fee that we waive to our membership if they pay in full. And our CSA is, and we've made some changes in the last couple of years. We've had a CSA for almost 19 years, I think. We're $500.50, which is $35.75 a week, or $143 a month. And if they pay by the month, they have to pay that $35 membership to secure their place on the list. And we also send out an end-of-season survey every year and ask them what they liked, what they didn't like, what was working for them. And that survey, here are some of the questions, and you'll have that in your handout slide.